In this session, we're going to look at lessons 47 through 50. In lesson 47, the first part, we're going to build on our sinusoid equations. The only thing that's going to change between this and what we've been doing is our center line is no longer at 0. If you see the center line, which is the y-axis, or I guess the theta axis in this case, if you'll notice it is not at 0, it's actually at 4. So the only thing that will change is we're going to start with y equals, and we'll have a 4 right here instead of a 0. Before we were just putting nothing. Y equals 4, you'll notice it's going through the origin, so it's going to be a sine function, and it's on the way up, so it's going to be positive. And the range from 4 to 6 is 2. So 4 is the center line. It's a positive sine function. The range from 4 to 6 is 2. Then it's going to be sine. And then it is going to be theta. And that is going to be your answer. Once again, the only thing that we added was 4. We'll build more. Got 2 more things to add to these. But that's all that there is to these right now. Is you just have to identify the center line, which is not difficult at all. The second concept in lesson 47 is arctan tan of 135. You simply put that in your calculator and it will give you the answer. That's all there is to part 2 of lesson 47. The next concept is on lesson 48. And lesson 48 has 2 concepts. First concept is cubing one of these trig functions. We've already done sine of negative 60. That's no big deal. Sine of negative 60 is root 3 over 2, and it is a negative number. But once you find that out, then you have to deal with the cubed. So the cubed comes here, and so you have negative root 3 over 2 cubed. When you do that, you'll end up with negative 3 root 3 over 8. That's the answer to those. Not too big of a deal. Cotangent squared 330, it becomes 1 over tangent squared 330 degrees. And then you put in your calculator tan squared, or tan 330, and you get negative 0.577, which is 1 over root 3, I believe. Just double check that. Yeah. So you get 1 over negative 1 over root 3, because it was a negative number. Then you're going to square that. But of course, you can flip it and bring it to the top. And so you get negative root 3 squared. So your answer ends up being just 3. That's it for these concepts. Not too tough on that one. On the second concept of lesson 48, they're going to give us 2 points, and they want us to find the perpendicular bisector of this line. And the way that you're going to do that is you're going to end up using the midpoint formula. But before you do that, you want to find the slope. And the slope, you use y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. And y1 is 2, y2 is negative 3. So we get 2 minus negative 3 over 4 minus 8. This ends up being a positive. So you get 5 over 4, which is negative. Now, because they want the perpendicular bisector of this line, we're going to use the negative reciprocal of that. So it's positive 4/5 x plus b. Now, we don't have a point to plug in for x and y. They didn't give us that. So we'll use the midpoint formula to be able to discover the point. So it'd be 4 plus 8 divided by 2 and then we will get 2 plus negative 3 divided by 2. So 4 plus 8 divided by 2 is going to be 6. And then 2 plus negative 3 be negative 1, so we have negative 1/2. So there is actually our point that we get from using the midpoint formula. So we'll plug in 6 and negative 1/2. So this becomes 24/5. You bring it to the other side. You have negative 1/2 minus 24/5 equals B. And you can go to tenths. This ends up being 5/10, and this ends up multiplied 2, so 48/10. They're both negative, so you get negative 53/10 as the y-intercept, which it becomes negative 5.3. So the answer to this, they put a fraction and a decimal, is y equals 4/5 x minus, and I'm just going to leave them both as fractions. But that is the answer for this. So what we did was we used, this is the slope formula, which you will have in your calculator, which you use to find 4/5. Then we used the midpoint formula, which was 4 plus 8 divided by 2 to find x, and then 2 minus 3, or 2 plus negative 3 divided by 2 to find y, and that's how we got those. We plugged that in here to solve for the b, and that was the line that was perpendicular to those 2 points right there. The last concept is a little more to do with trig. This is something you need, kind of maybe a little chart that you need to put into your formula page. And we have 45, 30, and 60. These are the most common ones. But this is first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, fourth quadrant is what these are. In the first quadrant, a 45-degree angle is 45, 30 is 30, 60 is 60. Of course, you got 0, 90, 180, 270. Those are obviously on the exact axis. But in the second quadrant, a 45-degree angle is 135, but it's still a 45-degree angle. In the third quadrant, 225. In the fourth quadrant, you have 315. It's just how you name a 45-degree angle in each quadrant. How you name a 30-degree angle in each quadrant is 30, 150, 210, 330, 60, 120, 240, 300. These are all just common numbers you're going to be using. You need to have these written down. What they want you to do, sine theta equals 1 over root 2. So the question is, what angle is that? And the way to figure that is you hit second function sine of 1 divided by root 2. And you get that that is a 45-degree angle. So 45 is when that is positive 1 over root 2. There's always 2. So 2 of these will be positive and 2 of these will be negative. So you could plug in sine 135 to see if that is it. And you also get a positive 0.707. So 135 and 45 are our answers. You can check it by hitting sine 225, and you see that you get a negative 0.707. So 225 is not the answer. Of course, you can check the other one too. There's always 2 answers. Now another one, I'll go ahead and show you another example with these. Here's another example. It says 2 plus root 3 secant theta equals 0. Bring the 2 to the other side, you get root 3 secant theta equals negative 2. Divide both sides by root 3. You get secant theta equals negative 2 over root 3. You could flip these. Secant is cosine, 1 over cosine. And so you get, you could just flip both and go cosine theta equals negative root 3 over 2. And the way you find out when that is you say second function cosine equals negative second function root 3 divided by 2, close parentheses, and you see that that is 150. And that's a negative. So 150 is in the 30 family. You know that this one's going to be positive. So it's going to be either cosine 210 or 330. Cosine 210. And cosine 210 is also negative. So those are your two angles for that one. That is it for lessons 47 through 50.